Juvenile Detention Center. Chapter 1. The boy laid on the floor, being beaten up by a man who seemed to take pleasure in his pain. He thought about the violence that had been a part of his life for as long as he could remember. His father used to beat him regularly, and he had grown accustomed to it. To him, violence was as natural as breathing. Suddenly, he saw a catapult in the man's hand and said, "No!" He asked the man why he didn't just punch him instead of using the slingshot. The man asked if he was backing out, thinking that the boy would do anything for money. The boy with the slingshot was Seong-ho Kim, a prisoner in the Juvenile Detention Center. Seong-ho had been sentenced to 2 years for sexual assault. The boy, whose name was Ju-yong, was also a prisoner, sentenced to 3 years for attempted murder. Seong-ho offered Ju-yong a deal. He would pay him 500 won if he agreed to be his human target. Ju-yong agreed, but Seong-ho missed his shot. Seong-ho then asked Ju-yong to pick up a coin from a dirty water dump using his mouth. Ju-yong did it, and the other boys were shocked. Seong-ho and his friends laughed at Ju-yong, thinking he had sold his dignity for money. They assumed Ju-yong was desperate for money because he was in debt. Ju-yong had been sentenced to 3 years for attempted murder. At the same day, Ju-yong received a visit from his childhood friend, Daeon. She was shocked by his appearance, as he looked much thinner than before. Daeon told Ju-yong to fight back whenever someone tried to beat him up. She gave him back the money he had given her and reminded him of their promise to move to Seoul together after high school. Ju-yong remembered the day his father was in a coma after he hit him with a vase. Daeon had come to visit him at the hospital. Despite suffering physical abuse from his father, Ju-yong was sentenced to 3 years in prison. He brought picture of him and Daeon with himself. New inmate Guillaume Ma, sentenced for killing 7 bullies, defies Seong-ho, earning his wrath. Ju-yong advises Guillaume to obey Seong-ho, but Guillaume calls him a coward. On the other hand, Daeon got hit by the truck and died. Ju-yong was sitting in his cell and holding a picture of himself and Daeon. Seong-ho snatched the picture from his hand and made fun of it, saying he would put it up for auction. Ju-yong was devastated when he learned that Daeon had died in a tragic accident. Guillaume asked Ju-yong that the photo is worthy enough to be protected. He got up and punched Seong-ho, beating him mercilessly. Seong-ho begged him to stop, offering him money, but Ju-yong refused. He said that money was of no use to him anymore, and that he had nowhere to go, and the reason to hold back was Daeon, and she was already died. Prologue. Ju-yong was remembering the day when he was being beaten brutally by his father. He wanted him to join the gang. He used to beat him every single day. He wanted him to be determined to make himself stronger and worthy enough to earn Dragon Tattoo. Ju-yong got nothing to direct his anger except for the eyes of dragon on the body of his father. He used to hit the eyes of dragon on his father's body. Chapter 2. Suddenly, the policeman entered and asked who did that, and Ju-yong confessed that he had done that. They locked him in another cell all alone. He looked into the picture and remembered the day when he got beaten at first day of their high school, when Daeon suggested to come to his to tell his father, and he begged her not to come to his home ever. While conversating, Daeon told him that she gonna live in Seoul, study in top University of Seoul, and to get well-paid job to buy all kinds of clothes, bags, and accessories as she has done with her life in orphanage. Then they both made a pinky promise that one day they both will leave for Seoul. And that moment, someone captured their picture, and it was exactly that picture that he was holding right now in the prison cell. On thought of Daeon's death, he got frustrated again and started to punch the door so much that he got hurt, and the picture got filled with his blood. Meanwhile, a policeman entered and consoled him that he was sorry of his loss and said that he knew that he was in extreme grief right now, and then he motivated him to eat something. Next day, prisoners were discussing that Ju-yong brutally beaten Top Dog and was being isolated. They were laughing and making fun of Seong-ho. A guy named Jongchan Park, imprisoned for special violence, listened all the conversation, and he comes up and grabbed the boy that was laughing and gave him some beatings. Jongchan was Top Dog himself, and he couldn't bear the insult of another Top Dog. A week later, the policeman sent Ju-yong back an earlier prison cell and told him that Seong-ho was still in the hospital and they were sending him back because they knew the ground reality. His fellow welcomed him back. While sitting by the wall, Guillaume realized that in the juvenile detention center, the power was the only thing that mattered. Lately, Ju Yong asked Guillaume that he himself had killed 7 people, and he didn't let him kill Seong Ho that day. He asked him over and again why. Suddenly, Jong Chan came and asked Ju Yango if he'd beaten Seong Ho to be a top dog. Ju Yango told him to go away, but he started beating him so hard. Meanwhile, policemen saw both of them, but he did nothing. And then Jong Chan told him that top dogs are allowed to beat other boys in order to maintain law. While Jong Chan was beating him so hard, Ju Yango saw a dragon tattoo on his body. As soon Jong Chan mentioned the Daeon, Ju Yango jumped over him and started kicking him. He beaten him so hard and twisted his arm having a dragon tattoo. He remembered that he used to direct his anger to dragon eyes in his childhood. Prologue. Ju Yong was getting back to home when he heard his neighbors murmuring about him that his father was gangster, and they both are quite problematic in neighborhood. He was good at keeping his head down. As soon as he entered the house, he heard the scream. His father asked him if she was his friend by pointing to girl lying on the ground. His father told him she burst into the house and he taught her a lesson. He told his son to warn her if she would ever talk to him rudely again, he would send her to the place where her parents were. Ju Yong got devastated. He lifted the flower vase and broke it on his father's head. His father went into coma. Doctor told that his chance to regain the consciousness was almost 0. Ju Yong got relief that Daeon would be safe now. Chapter 3. Everybody there got stunned to see Jong Chan being beaten by Ju Yong. Meanwhile, an announcement of yard time over was made. They all left for prison cell. Changi Sok Gowan, the warden of Juvenile Detention Center, was talking to a man who got discharged from the hospital. The man was holding the walking stick. He told him that he could do anything possible for him. The man was enjoying the sight of Jia Yong beating the Jong Chan and crashing him down onto the ground. Then he asked him to whom he wanted to meet in Juvenile Detention Center. The policeman called Ju Yong as he had a visitor. He was thinking whom could be his visitor, as his mother left him when he was kid, and he got nobody else in the entire world. They took him to warden's room where he saw his father, Gang Ryong Cha, was there. Ju Yong was told that his father regained consciousness. His father said that he felt so pride when he came to know that he was in coma due to his son. Furthermore, he confused he was one who killed the Daeon as she asked of him to stay away from his son, because she thought Ju Yong would live better without him. He considered his action of killing the girl a symbol of love for his son. The girl begged him to not kill her, but he didn't take mercy on her. He said that Daeon held the key to unlock the potential if Ju Yong, that's why he killed her. After that confession, he got rage. He jumped to beat his father, but the warden Changasok asked the security men to get him under control. They controlled him via electroshock weapon. He started to tremble with pain while lying on the ground. Then his father said that if he wanted to see him dead, he would tell him a way to do that. He told him the faculty of Juvenile Detention Center had so many members of their gang, those with dragon tattoos. But among all, Ju Yong was the best, and he wanted him to conquer this detention center. He wanted him to gain the respect of the Sky Dragon gang, and told him that in the meantime he got a chance to stab back in his neck. Then he would be able to swallow the whole Sky Dragon gang. That was the solemn purpose of Gang Ryong's entire life. He then requested Chagasuk to take good care of him. All of a sudden, Ju Yong jumped on his father to kill him. Mr. Changsok got confused by his abrupt action. He started beating his father so hard while yelling that he couldn't wait for that long and he was going to kill him right now. Prologue. Ju Yong jumped on his father to kill him and said that what made him think that he would wait for some time to take his revenge from his father. A person came forward by apologizing in advance and pushed him and forced him to lay on ground. He mentioned that he was enforcer of the Sky Dragon gang and it was his duty to protect his father. His father challenged him that he couldn't even touch a single hair if his body as the whole warden office was filled by the members of the Sky Dragon gang. Gang Ryong reminded him that he needed to be the king of detention center to stab his neck and mentioned that he would be looking for their next meeting. Chapter 4. Prisoners were working in woodworking room. The policeman there asked 3,397, that was Guillaume, to take that work easy and that he had already done his quota for that day. Both of the cops there murmured about his skillful use of hammer, and they assumed that he might use hammer to bash his victims. One of them said he didn't think him of as murderer as he seemed to be loser. Another prisoner, 9,548, who got tattoo on his chest, excused the officer that he got toolbox, and they set him to place it on the shelf. The tools got slipped out of box as he lost the control. It was Gaeon Min Yoon who was imprisoned because of robbery and arson. He on the sight of Gaeom greeted him and asked him if he reminded him or not, as they both were in same high school. He asked him whether he killed 7 people or not. He thought that Gaeom couldn't do that as he was noble student in school. The officer told both of them to go back in their prison cells and leave their chattering for some other day. Gaeom got his hands on that nail slipped out of toolbox by Jaeon Min. Ju-young was staring and thinking about what he wanted to do. He was dead sure that he wanted to kill his father, but he didn't know how he was going to do that. Prisoners were discussing about the meals that they were feeding within detention center. One of them said that his cravings are high enough that he could kill someone for 1 slice of pizza. Other wondered that why were they only getting vegetables as meal? He assumed that the prisoner were thought to be rabbits instead of human. One of them suggested that they should report detention center for human rights violation. Police officers walking by heard some noise and asked them if there was any problem. Ju-young said that he wanted to get some pizza delivered there. They sent the pizza, and every prisoner got super excited and they thought Ju-young is best. Ju-young realized that he was getting special treatment and he was satisfied with that. He decided to take full advantage of it to take revenge from his father. Rest of the prisoner questioned about him if his father was congressman or mega rich person. Suddenly he asked about Guillaume and called him to have some pizza. Somebody told him that today he was more gloomy than usual. At very next day in woodworking room, numbers of nail got thrown over Guillaume. He was surprised about thigh. Then Jeonmin said that his hand got slipped again. Guillaume yelled out of anger and furiously looked towards Jeonmin. On the behalf of his ferocious looks, Jeonmin fellows asked him that if he was lying about Guillaume, that he was scared of him in school and being head of his school gang. Jeonmin asked Guillaume that didn't he remember that how he was bullied in school by him. By saying this, he hit him. This made Guillaume to memorize his school time when Jeonmin used to hit him and place his forehead on nails. On the thought of that moment, he started shaking. Jeonmin was teasing him with nails and said that it was not possible that he could kill 7 people. Guillaume got mad and held him back by saying that if he wanted to know how he murdered those people, he was going to tell them. Prologue. Guillaume grabbed Jeonmin and said that if he wanted to know, he was going to tell how he murdered those 7 people. The surrounding got heated up and officer announced that it was their time to go back into their prison cells. Gaeonim yelled at Guillaume to take his hand off him. They left while Jeonmin was thinking that Guillaume was still so annoying. Chapter 5. Prisoners were talking about religious figure that who was more stronger, either Buddha or Jesus. One said Jesus was stronger as once could get biscuits or chocolate, and other replied that temple used to give burger. They were discussing about their religion and having their fun time. At the corner of the cell, Ju-young thanked Guillaume for saving him to kill Seong-ho that day. Guillaume said that he was angry about that initially, and Ho's did his heart got changed. He told him that he got a reason to go out of detention center. He told him that he was determined to take revenge from his father as he murdered his friend Daeon. Guillaume was stunned to know about his father's re-ovary. He asked that his father was in coma, so how could it be possible? Ju-young replied that it was long story. He said that he was going to repay back to him even though Guillaume was supposed to stay 20 years in detention center as per his sentence. Next day in woodworking room, the officer came and handed over the key to Guillaume by telling him that he got something urgent to do regarding his family, and he had to leave right now. He told him to clean the woodworking room before leaving. He noted in yes and got back to his work. There he saw a moth lying on the table. The sight of moth flashed back the days of him at school, when Jeonmin was only 11 years old and he got a box where he pinned number of moths, and told Guillaume that it was super cool, and he replied back that he didn't like it at all. Jeonmin said that he didn't know that Guillaume was scaredy cat. Other students started to murmur about weird behavior of Jeonmin carrying bug in the box. They all surrounded him and was forcing him to feed on that pinned moths as they said that it was source of protein for him. Meanwhile, Guillaume entered and rescued him. Everyone left so not to get penalty as Guillaume was class president. Jeonmin was so excited to play new game with Guillaume, another students entered and offered Guillaume to play soccer with them after the school. From there, they started to become distant to each other gradually. They became even more distant when they were assigned different home rooms. One day, Gyeom overheard some students talking about Jeon-min, that he was new victim of school bullies. They mentioned that he was taken to the storage room to be tortured. Gyeom rushed towards storage room to rescue him again. He yelled Jeon-min's name out loud. He asked about him from the bullies, but someone jumped on him from back. He turned to look who it was. He was surprised to see it was Jeon-min. He dragged him and locked him in the cupboard and wanted to pin him like he used to pin moths in box. Out there, he mentioned that he set all this trap to take revenge from Gyeom for not liking moths and not joining his gang. On memorizing all that, he squeezed the moth in his woodworking room. Then Jeon-min entered at once and said to him that it wasn't Moth's fault, rather it was Gyeom's fault. Gyeom asked Jeon-min not to play dumb as he got himself distant from him on choice, so that to stab back on his neck. Then, Jeon-min said that his perspective was different, him as he used to consider him as disgusted moth, and everyone thought of Gyeom as nice butterfly. This enraged him a lot. He told that he was overjoyed when he learned that he has killed 7 people and got sentenced. He considered it as karma. Then he grabbed the Gyeom from his neck and started to beat him, that one of his fellow prisoner praised him as he said, "What a man you are, Jeon-min. You even bribe officer to put your hands on him." Jeon-min mentioned that he wanted to pin Gyeom alive, as he was his favorite insect. He dragged him and locked him in cupboard there, like the way he did before in school's storage room. Surprisingly, he placed number of insects already there in cupboard. He said he wanted Gyeom to be crying in pain like dying pig. That's why he was going to do something else to him. Someone of the fellows reminded him to be careful as Gyeom himself was a murderer. He boastfully said that he wasn't scared of any murderer. Out of the blue, Ju-young entered and grabbed Jeon-min and made him lay on the ground and gave him some hard kicks. He then rescued the Gyeom and told him that his debt of saving him from killing Seong-ho was repaid while he was locked in cupboard.